Welcome to episode number 3 of the Phil and Will Show. We are back, and honestly, we had a pretty successful NFL wildcard weekend. I'm not going to lie. That was pretty good for both of us. It was a little bit better for me. I don't like
I think we each kind of had one bad game.
The Browns take for me was terrible. The
Yeah.
Browns got smoked, man.
I mean, I told you going into that game, I said this is going to come down to turnovers, and we'll see. What we've seen from these teams so far is, Flacco being very turnover prone and CJ Stroud taking care of the football. And what do you know? Flacco dishes out 2 interceptions.
Pick sixes. Both were pick sixes.
Were both pick sixes? I knew one was. Sixes. I wanted to say both. And then Dak also basically threw 2 pick sixes. I know one of them got called back, and he was down. But that was 2 really bad interceptions by both of those guys. I was wrong on Dallas. I basically was in the camp that, hey, Dallas cannot lose this game, not because they couldn't football-wise or, like, physically on the field and the matchups, but, like, you got to blow it all up now. Like, you can't, like, McCarthy's out of there. I think, like, Dak, you just get rid of. Like, you have to blow up that whole team because to have that great of a regular season.
3 years in a row, they've gone 12
to not lose at home all season. Then you get a home playoff against a 9-8 7 seed, and you get whacked. You get blown out in your own stadium. I mean, it doesn't get much worse than that. I love to see it. I'm honestly a little bit jealous as a Niners fan that we didn't have the opportunity to knock the Cowboys out of the playoffs 3 seasons in a row. That really would have been a delight. But I got to take what I can get. I'm glad they are out. If you look at the NFC right now, the teams remaining, like if we had said these are the teams, you'd be like, what? I mean, we have the Packers, the Lions, and the Bucks.
I know.
That's what the 49ers have.
Make the World Series. They don't make the Super Bowl.
I don't think they're making the World Series, honestly. I think
if they don't make
they got an uphill battle.
That's crazy, man. That is so before the season began, the over-under for the Bucks was 6.5. The over-under for the Packers was 6.5, and the over-under for the Lions was 8.5. And the Lions ended up going up to 9.5, but it opened at 8.5. And all 3 of those teams are now 3 of the 4 remaining teams in the NFC.
But even looking at the teams that just got eliminated, if I, as a Niner fan, if I'm identifying the 3 scariest teams in the conference, who are the scariest teams to me? Well, I would say probably the Cowboys, just because even though we laid a smackdown on them, I think their offense is, they got a lot of weapons. CeeDee Lamb's had an unbelievable season. We've seen Dak take care of the football more than he has this entire season. And then look, the Eagles, they were in the Super Bowl last year. Hurts, if they get A.J. Brown back, their defense was playing like crap, but, that roster is full of talent. So those are the scary teams. And then you might even put the Rams. You look at the Rams and go,
Stafford won a Super Bowl.
Stafford and Sean McVay are like 2 seasons removed from winning a Super Bowl. Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams, like a stacked offense, defensively not as good. But you look at those 3 teams and you say, wow, if the Niners are going to lose before getting to the Super Bowl, one of those teams is probably going to be the culprit. And for those 3 teams to be gone is just insane. How does it feel? We're only 3 episodes into the Phil and Will Show here, but the current chalk, if we're going to go with what's projected to happen, we're looking at a Niners-Lions NFC Championship.
Are we recording episode 5? Episode 4 of the Phil and Will Show from the Niners Stadium. Is that what's going to happen? Or are we just going to have to fly out there and we'll get our own special? I'm sure it wouldn't cost anything, right, for us to get our own hosting spot for the people listening. I mean, Noah Ferrugia over here, new patron. Got to throw that out there, Noah Ferrugia. These predictions are just what I need as one of the 8 people who watch the college football betting podcast. We are so back, baby. So Noah Ferrugia, man, he's back. He's ready to go. Maybe we'll just have to camp out there. So I did actually write down our bets, not our bets, but our picks. Will, you had Houston 3.5, Kansas City -4.5. These were your leans. Obviously, you didn't officially.
I know because it was the Texans were at 2.5. I said if that thing climbs to 3 or 3.5 or by the points or whatever, and actually moved down. It moved by the time it kicked off. I think it was -2 for the
2. It was 2. You had Pittsburgh 10.5. Dallas -7.5, Rams +3.5. And then did you pick anything on the box?
I don't know.
I don't remember what you did. I just know So I was horrible on the Browns, but then everything else I said was right. I had the Bucks money line. I said Lions money line. I had Green Bay plus 7.5. Now I got to talk about this Green Bay thing real quick before we jump into anything else. Will, I re-listened to the clip maybe 15 times because it just brought me such great joy. When I opened up that segment talking about Aaron Jones's rushing, and I said, right now it's at 67.5 or whatever it was, and I was like, I love this. I would take this all the way up to 100. I think this is a great matchup. The Cowboys can't stop the run. Literally, after I said that, your response was to laugh at me. You just started laughing. You didn't even say words. You just laughed. And then after you were done laughing, you said, well, I certainly wouldn't recommend that. They're going to be playing from behind. What did Aaron Jones do? Ran for 118 yards because the Cowboys just could not stop the run. Now, granted, the game script worked in his favor, but I had said I really liked the Packers in that game. And sure enough, they pulled it out. Buffalo minus 10, Lions money line.
You'd still need a pretty specific sequence of events, even if you did like the Packers in that game, take over 100 yards rushing. I mean, that's not going to happen.
But for plus 350, which is what it was, for plus 350, that's really good odds. If you're saying if they play 10 times, that's pretty much saying like 3.5 of those times this could happen.
Sure.
Yeah.
No. I mean, clearly it was a good bet. So kudos to you.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah. Cheers to me. But so we could talk all about what we're going to do divisional round. We got to save divisional round for the end. We can't just like do divisional round because then nobody's going to listen for the entirety of this.
I mean, people can just fast forward,
No, they can't fast forward. They don't have that ability. How are you going to do that? You can't do that. You can't do that.
The dot on the.
Well, let me ask you this before we jump into any other topic, because I wanted to recap Wildcard Weekend that we actually did very well. Now, don't expect that every week, but we actually did very well. As a Niners fan, who are you most scared of the other 7 teams? I'm talking AFC as well. Who are you most scared of playing for the rest of it? Because the Niners are favored right now. So who are you scared of?
I think it's a better question if we stick NFC, because then we were obviously playing the Packers this week.
But who do you think has the best chance of beating you? Like, who do you actually think?
I just think that's a boring question because it's the Ravens. I mean, we've
really?
lost
I don't
to
think
the
it's Ravens.
I'm not afraid of the Bills. I'll tell you that. I'm not afraid of the Bills. I'm not really afraid of the Chiefs. I'm not afraid of Baker Mayfield and the Bucs. Maybe I should be.
I'm going to tell you the only team you should be scared of is the Lions.
I mean, the Lions and the Packers. I think getting out of the NFC could be trickier than it appears, even though I just rattled off how we probably lost the 3, biggest threats are already off the table. Their season's over. They're on vacation. But in this Packers team, I don't know. It's like it's one of these teams. They're young. They got nothing to lose. They're not going to come. They have no pressure. A lot of these playoff games, there's just so much pressure. Every play. I mean, you could see it with Dak. He looked like he was lost out there, and he's an experienced QB. He's won 2 playoff games before. The mounting pressure can build up in this Niners team pretty much since we started 5-0 or 6-0, whatever it was. It's been a Super Bowl or bust season pretty much since McCaffrey came over last season. And then obviously, we're likely in the Super Bowl. I think we beat the Eagles. If we have a quarterback that can make a forward pass, I think our chances increase of winning that game. We saw how we played against the Eagles this season, absolutely spanked them. And obviously different Eagles team, but pressure is on the Niners. This is their conference to lose. And I hope we don't lose sight of that. I hope that's not like this cockiness and overconfidence comes over, because I think that's probably what happened to the Cowboys. I mean, you got the 7 seed at home. It honestly looked like they did not get up for this game. They were not ready. Because like if they're playing, I don't even think that you could say the Packers are like a better football team. Dallas just choked the game. Dallas is the better team. We saw it all season. I mean, we saw the Packers pretty much, they should have lost to the Panthers like 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
They beat the Bears at the end of the season. Like, good job. They beat the Giants, I think, down the stretch. So like, it's not like the Packers on this hot streak have been beating like top tier, high caliber offenses or teams. But hey, they got it done in Dallas. And the Niners have to take this team seriously. So it is a little scary playing a team like the Packers.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if I'm the Niners, the scary part about the NFC is that every single team they're going to play against is playing with house money. The Lions getting that first one out of the way, they've exercised 2 of the most ridiculous ghosts in the history of sports. I mean, they hadn't won a playoff game in 32 years. They hadn't won a division title in 30 years. They got both of those done in this year. If they go to the Super Bowl, great. They made it to the Super Bowl, but they already had such an incredibly successful season. The Packers, it was supposed to be a turnaround year. and they've already had a great season. The Bucks were supposed to finish either last or second to last in the NFC the year after they lose Brady. And guess what? They went further this year than they did in Brady's final season. The Niners are the only team with any pressure in the NFC. And we'll talk more in depth about those divisional games. But yeah, the Niners are in a tricky spot because they should win everything. But we saw the 15-1 Minnesota. Maybe a lot of you listening didn't, but we saw the 15-1 Minnesota Vikings back in like 1998 with Randy Moss, Chris Carter, Dante Culpepper lose to the Atlanta Falcons and Chris Chandler. And it was ridiculous. Like, there's no reason they should have lost that game. They should have won the Super Bowl that year, but they had the pressure and the Atlanta Falcons didn't. And that was the difference. That's what happened.
No, it's not going to be. It's never easy. Even when you feel like you can just coast and your team's better, it's the NFL. And all it takes is like one play, you know? Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm definitely not sitting here like, oh yeah, we made it to the Super Bowl. Let's just go to the Super Bowl now. That being said, I still think the Niners are the favorite to not only win the Super Bowl, make it to the Super Bowl. Like we should expect this to happen. We should expect the Niners to get to the Super Bowl. Just don't be too cocky about it. I think that's kind of the attitude.
Well, before we keep talking about NFL, because we're going to do plenty of NFL talk, let's talk about another winner, because we are huge TV people. Like that's what this podcast started as, right? So the Phil and Will show's got to be. We're not the sports specialists yet. Maybe one day, but we got to get there.
We're not specialists about it. We just like talking about it.
We just talk about it. I don't know, man. After last week, I think we literally went like 9-3 or 10-2. It's pretty specialist. I'll be honest. I don't know if you're going to find many people who did better. But let's talk a little bit about secession, because that was like an American whatever. Everybody caught on. It kind of caught fire in these
water cooler show.
Cooler show. That's what it's called. Oh, before I do that, I didn't even tell you I was going to do this. Did you hear No Doubt is reuniting? Did you hear about this?
No Doubt.
Do you know No Doubt? Do you even?
I know who No Doubt is. I don't really care.
Damn, dude, that's a shame. I didn't
know they had split up. To be honest, it makes me sad they ever split up. I guess
2 years. Yeah, they've been split up.
I'm gonna be sad for like 10 seconds, but now I know they're getting back together. So I mean, I know No Doubt. I know Gwen Stefani, and then I know it's a band, and she's the lead singer, and you got some guys. You got the chick singing. And
cool, yeah. So Will knows nothing about No Doubt. I just wanted to go there.
Gwen Stefani left the band to do a solo thing, and I guess that's when they split up. And then now her career is maybe run dry, and she's like, I got to get back with the band. Is that kind of what's happening?
Pretty much. No, I don't think that's it. They're reuniting just for Coachella. It looks like they finally for years
care even less now.
Yeah.
I didn't care at all. Now I
love No Doubt. Less. I'm very happy. I'm very happy that they're reuniting. Not that I'm going to go to Coachella because I no longer live on the West Coast, but that's pretty cool. I thought that was pretty good news. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I didn't know if you would care.
It doesn't sound like they're reuniting. It sounds like they're playing at one concert. That's not reuniting.
Well, they might keep going. I mean, it is literally that's literally what reuniting is you reunite, even if it's for one day. Like we're reuniting.
I feel like you get the band back together, and like they've gotten. Like the band's reunited, then the band is now actively together. They're putting out music and performing consistently, and they're not just they're not just hanging out one time.
I don't know. They gotta play to get ready, don't they?
They're gonna rehearse, but what does that do for us?
I don't know, man. Maybe they're gonna put some shows on
right now. For you?
Right now, all they've announced is Coachella, but there could be more coming. Hey, look, I just wanted to bring it up because I don't know what kind of music you listen. I know you like Eminem, and that's pretty much the only thing you listen to. So, I had to check. You like? I like
Eminem. I like Taylor Swift. I like EDM. I like funk. I like pop. I like country. I like jazz. I like singer-songwriter. Is that even a genre? Singer-songwriter? I always see that as like a genre. I'm like, is that a genre, or are you just
it's just folk music? Like it's folk music.
It's a singer who wrote the song. Like, is it? I don't know. Like, isn't everyone a singer-songwriter? I don't know. I don't know a lot about music, no, but I do really enjoy music. I've been listening a lot to Michael Giacchino recently.
There you go.
Just because I listen to the Lost soundtrack and the Batman soundtrack like all the time.
Yeah. I like that. I'm on a big jazz kick right now. It's driving my wife nuts. She thinks
Miles Davis.
No, I'm not even. I'm like just playing like weird, cozy jazz instrumentals. I was listening to the Chinatown soundtrack the other day. Chinatown has a great jazzy soundtrack. It's fantastic. But my wife is like, wow, it's so relaxing. But then it's becoming part of my identity now, and then that's just not something fun to live with.
Don't
so
talk
chill,
about
hanging out. But jazz is great.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, that's good. Lost kind of fits into this because Succession, back to that, right? I just had to sidetrack ourselves there for a second. I wanted to see if that would work, but it didn't. Will does not care about No Doubt. Put that down with a check mark next to it. Maybe we can get him to go listen to a couple songs. Succession just won a whole bunch of Emmys. Will, you've watched Succession? I hope. Otherwise, this is really going to be bad. I thought we talked about this one at least. Is this show as good as advertised in your opinion? Is it up in that upper echelon of TV? Like it just won everything. Kieran Culkin won. He beats Jeremy Strong. Jeremy Strong had won everything before that. It's one drama series, I think 3 years in a row now. Sarah Snook finally won. Matthew McFadyen won for the second time. Like it won directing, like is it up there? Like what in your opinion, where does this go?
I don't know how far up there it is, but yes, I mean, I'm a big fan of the show. I think it's fantastic. And at a time when there really hasn't been a water cooler show or a show that like America can get behind and is like really consumed with in watching. We talked a little bit about this with the Golden Globes. Like there is so much content out there. There are so many TV shows. I mean, you watch the Emmys or some of these award shows and you're like, I've seen one of these shows. You're lucky if you've seen one. And that's if you're watching TV. Like I was looking back at some of the past winners and I'm like, I can't even tell you what I couldn't even like envision an actor or poster of this TV show. Like some of the comedies that I've won recently. There's so much stuff and that can be good and bad. The bad part is that we don't all get together to get behind one show, especially while it's airing. That's such an important time, at least for me, thinking back to like when we would watch Lost or even watching Breaking Bad or even Game of Thrones, when it's like everyone is watching week to week. What did you think? What do you think's going to happen? Do you have a theory? What's going on here? I really like this. I'm going to make a quote or a reference and everyone's going to pick it up and understand it because we're all watching the same show. There's something really important for that culturally. And it's not lost on me that Succession kind of brought that out of kind of revived it, like brought that back from the dead. Because I've not really felt this since Game of Thrones ended. And when did Game of Thrones end? 2021?
Right before COVID, right?
2022, 2020, 2019?
Wasn't it before COVID?
I think, yeah, it was the year I remember because Edge of Extinction.
2019.
2019. Yep. So, I mean, it's been a while. That's probably a good 2 to 3 years. Maybe not that long, I guess. But, I mean, to have really no shows that everyone, like, the whole country.
Well, and the shows that people are talking about are House of the Dragon, which is a spinoff of Game of Thrones. The last,
yeah, but that's not even close to as popular.
No, it's
as
not
Game of Thrones or Succession. Like Succession, really,
the White Lotus, maybe,
but it also feels different because it's like an anthology show, sort of. I know Jennifer Coolidge is like holding it down, so it's in this category and not that category. No, I mean, heading into that final season of Succession, it felt like everyone was watching it. Like it really felt like that was back. And I'm a really big fan of the show. I don't know where I have it. In terms of like TV dramas, I mean, it's got to be top 10 for me. I don't know if it cracks top 5. I think that might be a little too sweet. There's also a couple shows that I still need to watch that I'm like kind of saving that are in that top tier that I can't really form an opinion on. But what about you? Where do you have this?
I love Succession. So, and Clutch Hattrick says I'll have to check it out. Never heard of it before this, honestly. So don't. We won't spoil anything about Succession. Succession is phenomenal.
No, we will. I think we'll have to spoil it. If we're going to continue talking about it, but spoiler warning from here on out. No, I have some takes. I have some takes that I can't really not spoil.
Okay. Well, we'll see where we get here. So with Succession, I was watching Succession during season 1. And I remember this very specifically because it was when I was leaving Warner Brothers in 2018 and I was driving across the country and there were like 3 episodes left in the season. And me and my buddy who I was driving across with, we were like camping. So we couldn't get the episodes. Like we couldn't watch it because the campgrounds of America, like in the middle of Idaho, are terrible. So we were driving from LA. We went all the way up to Portland and then we went all the way across the country. So I just very specifically remember like that being when I was watching Succession and we were both so into it, but he was the only person I knew who was watching it. It was kind of like a hard sell when it first came out of like rich white family, like who just like scumbags to everybody. That wasn't the easiest sell in Los Angeles in 2016 or whatever it was. No, 2018. I just said that. So 2018. And then season 2 really caught fire. And people like really latched onto it. And the characters are just phenomenal. The writing is so good. Like I really do enjoy every aspect of it. For me, So I won't rank a TV show. I won't specifically say where I put a TV show unless I've seen every episode. So like I love Seinfeld, but I haven't seen every episode of Seinfeld. So I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, Seinfeld's like a top 10 show, because there could be terrible episodes of Seinfeld I haven't seen. You know, I've seen all of How I Met Your Mother. So technically How I Met Your Mother is higher than Seinfeld, but I just haven't seen Seinfeld. For me, when it comes to TV shows, my clear top 5 are, and this is like, do you count Survivor in this? I'm just going to say any genre, right? I'm going to say,
see, that's where
let me finish. I just want to say my top 5 in any genre. If I'm going any genre, I'm saying Survivor, Lost, Game of Thrones, BoJack Horseman, which is an animated comedy, but I absolutely love it. And I had and The Leftovers. And The Leftovers is my number 1. Like The Leftovers is my favorite show. I mean, Survivor would be number 1 if you're counting that. But those are like my clear 5. Succession for me is like right on the outside of that. But I've also only seen Succession once through. Those other shows I've seen multiple times through. And so I think Succession could potentially grow, because I never even rewatched I guess I did rewatch season 1 and 2 of Succession. But season 3 and 4 I've only seen one time. So it's kind of tough for me.
It's hard to compare across genres.
Honestly.
It is. Like, I don't even think it's really worth it. And honestly, with how TV is changing, it's like TV today, it's so hard to like comparing Succession to 24. Like, what are we doing? What's the
Succession
point?
Of Lost? 1.5 seasons of Lost is the same length as the entirety.
That's what I mean. It's a different beast. So it's really hard to compare. I kind of just feel like, does it deserve to be in your top tier? And like for me, Succession absolutely does. Yeah. I didn't know you had Leftovers number 1. I think I have Leftovers and Succession probably the same equal footing. And then I put Lost. Lost is number 1 for me. I put The Wire and Breaking Bad.
I haven't seen The Wire. I own it, but I haven't.
Even though Breaking Bad, I feel like has kind of like, the longer it's been over, I feel like the worse it sits with you.
The first couple seasons of that show are really overrated.
I feel like the last season is overrated, honestly. I feel like
Selena is not nearly as good as everybody made it out to be. It was just a satisfying ending, but it's like, how else are you going to end that show?
Yeah, I think like the middle seasons, like 2 and
3 and 4 are incredible.
4 is great.
Really, it's 4 and 5, because the midway point of 3, I guess it's half measures into full measures, is where Breaking Bad really takes over for me. But before that, I wasn't really into it. And then season 4 and 5 with Gus and Mike Ehrmantraut and all that, that's where
I don't know. Season 3 was really good too. I don't know. I just don't think that show ended all that well. And that's another one though, like, because when it was on, it was such like everyone was like, you're texting everybody, you're having watch parties, like you're just capturing that, and that's so hard to recreate. So I do give the show props, because sometimes I remembered like, oh yeah, Breaking Bad, whatever. Then you like sit down, you like watch an episode of that show, you're like, oh my God, I forgot how good this is. Like you really forget how good Breaking Bad was. So I gotta keep that there. I actually I'm wearing a Breaking Bad t-shirt.
You are literally wearing a Breaking Bad shirt.
It's the BR and the BA are like highlighted on this shirt. Yeah, no, Succession's there for me. I do kind of have a qualm with these nominations, and this is where it might get a little spoilery if you want to tune out for this part. How is Brian Cox nominated for Best Lead Actor?
Dude, I have no idea. I have no idea. And that's where everybody thought that it was going to be him versus Nick Offerman for Best Guest Actor, which would have been fine. I don't know. Did you watch The Last of Us or no?
No, I haven't watched that yet.
Okay, so Nick Offerman ended up winning for The Last of Us, and he's in one episode. It's no spoiler. He's literally in one episode. Everybody knows this. And he's great. I mean, he's absolutely phenomenal, but it's a bottle episode. It's not like, it doesn't like really impact the show. Like, it's not like his character comes back in other ways. But like Brian Cox, I don't think ever won an Emmy for his role as Logan Roy.
Which is fine. I don't think...
It's crazy that they put him in as lead and didn't just put him as guest where he belonged.
I don't even think Kieran Culkin should have been lead.
Kieran Culkin became a lead in the second season. All right,
I don't think so. Leading actor is you are the lead of the show. A show that has multiple people nominated as lead, to me, doesn't make any sense. This is not how they used to do it. Now it's just the shows wanting to, they don't have one lead, so they're just like, we're going to nominate everybody. But like, go to the.
But they're the three siblings are all protagonists in this, and they all very much are the through line by the time you get to this season, and that's why Sarah Snook ends up winning for lead actress.
See, I would put them like basically all as supporting. I don't know, especially with how few episodes there are. It just seems insane. Like a lead is like, look at the comedy nominees for lead actors. Look at those.
Okay, hang on. I gotta pull it up.
I can get it started. We have Ted Lasso, and guess who's the lead actor of Ted Lasso?
It's Jason Sudeikis.
And what role does he play?
Yeah, but comedies are so easy, dude, because they're
short. No, I feel like comedies are more ensemble.
No, because there's always got to be the person who holds it down in a comedy, whereas in a drama,
no, I feel like Friends is like total ensemble piece where no one was
different. Those are totally different.
No, I know. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. And then like you look at Barry. Barry's nominated. Who's nominated for best actor, lead actor?
I would guess Bill Hader.
It's Bill Hader for the role of Barry, the title character. Yeah. Then you have the bear, Jeremy whatever. He's like the bear. Like he's the title. You're the main character of your show. That's what a lead actor is. And I feel like Succession having 4 co-leads, like it just doesn't. I don't know. I feel like they're all supporting roles. I don't know. It's weird.
It is weird because then, I mean, the other thing, though, that makes it interesting, right, is that Pedro Pascal is lead actor for The Last of Us, but Bella Ramsey's on screen just as much as he is. So she gets nominated for lead actress in a drama series, but it's like, okay, is that okay in your opinion, Will? Because it's a.
I think you need to have like one male and one female lead. I feel like that's pretty.
But then how is that any different if they're equal? If those two are equal, why can it not be equal that Kieran Culkin? No, Jeremy Strong and Kieran Culkin to me are lead. Brian Cox is not.
Brian Cox not this season, and even a lot throughout the show. If anything, I would say Jeremy Strong
should have won the Oscar.
Maybe
or not the Oscar, but the Emmy.
Maybe the lead you could give. I would give to Jeremy Strong, but still, to me, Kieran Culkin is like a supporting role. Honestly,
they wanted Matthew McFadyen to win, and they wanted to see if they could get Kieran Culkin to win because Jeremy Strong had won so many times, and it worked.
Yeah, no, that's kind of my issue. Is kind of like let's just nominate people where we're gonna fit this puzzle and get all these awards. I mean, like Jack Bauer, Kiefer Sutherland won Best Lead Actor in a Drama Series. That's a lead actor. That's your main character kicking ass for 24 episodes. And we have these, 10 episode seasons where you're sharing the screen with a huge ensemble and you're getting lead actor. I don't know. Not that I want to discredit anything. The acting and writing that show are phenomenal. So I don't want to discredit them. It just seems a little weird.
Here's my question, or here's something that's amazing to me. For supporting actor in a drama series, so they're doing 8 nominations for the supporting roles, which just seems insane. But they did 8 nominations for supporting actor in a drama series. Every single nomination was from The White Lotus or Succession. All 8 of them.
Yeah, no, and that's what you're seeing too. It's like one show will get whatever show wins the best drama or best comedy, then all of their actors are now winning all the leads and supporting awards.
I do think like earlier one of a kind. I don't think this is going to continue on though. Succession was interesting because everybody.
Didn't Game of Thrones do that? Like Game of Thrones didn't really have a lead character, but didn't they nominate people for lead role?
Game of Thrones towards the end, they would have Peter Dinklage, and then I remember for one season,
but Peter Dinklage was supporting, right?
Always supporting. They never put anybody up for lead. I think the only one they ever put for lead might have been Kit Harington once, but that was it. It was
towards the end after everyone's dead. It's like someone's got to be the lead.
Yeah. Exactly. I don't know. It's just it's kind of interesting with Succession. I wonder what the next show will be, because when I look at the nominees for drama, you have Succession, which won, and now it's over, so that's done. You have The Last of Us, which is, I mean, anybody who played the video games, this is, I'm not trying to spoil, so I won't say what happens, but the second season is going to be a totally different show than what the first season was. It's not the same at all. Better Call Saul is over. The White Lotus is a totally different show every single time. Yellow Jackets I've never even seen. The Crown is over.
That's the thing. I heard such negative things about Yellow Jackets, and for that to be nominated for best drama, there's not a lot of good shows out.
No, and then House of the Dragon. So it's you really, it's going to be, the Emmys are about to take a huge change, and it's
Severance last? I think Severance might have been the last year's Emmys, and the strike kind of messed things up. For me, Severance is, right now currently the best show that's airing on TV, even though it's only had one season of 9 episodes. It's absolutely phenomenal. When that comes back, we have to podcast about that. That might be our first dip into scripted TV. Because man, oh man, I
have to
love
rewatch. I've never watched season 1, so that'll be good because I can watch.
Oh, I've watched it twice. It's so good. It's so good.
Well, there you go. We can do that then. That sounds good to me. I'm all about it. Yeah, I just so yeah, Succession is worth it, man. It's crazy. It's crazy that this show, because like I said, in 2018, when I was trying to watch this, nobody was watching it. Like no one was watching it. This is one of those shows that's kind of crazy how popular it became and how it just took the culture by storm. Everybody talks about Shiv Roy and Roman Roy and all like those are household names now. And that's just crazy to me. Like the Roy family is a household name.
The first season wasn't that good.
It got off to I love the first season of the show.
Okay, it's not even comparable to the 3 after it, in my opinion.
Yeah, but that's because the 3 after it are like incredible.
That's what I mean. The show is like good, but I actually stopped watching Succession because I got 5 episodes in, and I was like, this show, I get it. I like the characters. It's funny, but like, I'm like, kind of, where's this going? Do I care? And I stopped watching it. And then when I jumped back in, I was like, holy shit, this show's awesome. Because episode 6 of season 1 is one of the best. Right? It's one of the best episodes of the whole series. And that's when the show flips.
That's the phone call episode, right?
Yes. And that's when the show really finds its bread and butter and its sweet spot. And we get a lot of moments like kind of like that. And those builds, we get the negotiations, we're fast paced, we're in cars, we're on the phone. Like we're doing all the Succession things, but we hadn't found its like heart yet. I didn't feel like until pretty deep into that first season. It doesn't win the Emmy. I don't even know if it gets nominated.
Didn't even
get nominated in season 1. I didn't really know what it was. And then season 2, 3, and 4, it wins the Emmy for best drama. So I mean, clearly there is, season 1 does something, is a little bit different. So if it takes you a while to get into it, keep watching.
Succession reminds me of The Leftovers, where the first season didn't have a big marketing push, so a lot of people didn't know about it, but it built up a cult following. And that cult following was what ultimately kept it driving. Now, obviously, The Leftovers never really got its massive award season or anything like that, but it still was that show where, like, The Leftovers should have ended after season 1. HBO gave it a second season because they needed a show, and that one had a cult following. It was cheap to make. They did it. They made it. And then the ratings on it weren't good. The reviews were great, but the ratings were bad. But there was enough fan push because it had such a strong cult following that was like, we need a season 3. And HBO actually did listen to fans on that. It's pretty fascinating if you go back and watch how Leftovers actually got made. But it's similar to Succession, but Succession caught on in a bigger way where like that first season, people were ready to write it off entirely and be like, this is stupid.
It's a very good point. The Leftovers starts out not that great either. It looking back, and this happens with Succession too, then you go watch it and you're like, oh, it's not that bad. I get it. But it's like you've lived with these characters now. You've lived in the world longer. You can appreciate everything it's doing. Whereas on first watch, it doesn't feel as hooking or gripping. And I do agree, The Leftovers, the end of the first season is really where The Leftovers starts to pick up. The same Succession.
In my opinion, and this is saying a lot because I've watched Game of Thrones and I know that the last 2 seasons of Game of Thrones are panned and I have issues with it too. And we can talk about it, but like those first 6 seasons of Game of Thrones, I've watched each of those seasons 5 times. Like I love Game of Thrones. I've watched Lost 3 or 4 times all the way through. I love Lost, but
I've watched Lost like 8 times.
Yeah. But I didn't watch it live. I didn't watch it.
Watching it
college.
Live.
That's the crazy part. So, but for me, The Leftovers season 2 is the greatest season of television ever made. Like, I just think it's the greatest season of television ever made. It's just so perfectly written. It has unbelievable shock moments. The acting is perfect. And it's just, you never thought that the show was going to go where it did. And I just think season 2 is the best thing ever put out on TV. That's my opinion.
Yeah, no, season 2 of The Leftovers is definitely my favorite season of The Leftovers. And I love The Leftovers. Yeah. I would say Succession, just to wrap this up, to give it all its merits, for me, has one of my favorite episodes, probably a top 5 episode of TV, which is the season 2 finale. For me, that is the best episode of the show, and the show never gets back quite to those heights. Although I know some people disagree. They have other favorite episodes. But for me, what a standout of an episode that is when they're on the boat and everything that's going on. Not going to spoil it, but if you know, you know.
Whatever, it's been so long. When Tom eats the chicken, man. When Tom eats the chicken, it's the greatest foreshadow of all time. It's the greatest foreshadow of all time. He eats the freaking chicken. Jack Conroy says Succession was great, but wanted to see Better Call Saul get some love. So Better Call Saul set the record for most Emmy nominations without a single win.
Saw that
3 in the history of the show. Did you watch Better Call Saul or no?
No, I started, I think
I got through 3 seasons, and then AMC had a terrible streaming service, and so I never got back into it.
I think I watched the first 2 or 3 episodes, and this is like, I think right in 2014, I just moved to LA, and the first few episodes really weren't doing it for me. And I've heard it gets way better. It's one of those things, like The Leftovers, Succession. I mean, season 1s are clearly a tough thing to nail. And I would go back. I want to go back and watch it. It's just not something I've seen. Have you watched The Sopranos, Phil?
I have watched. Okay, so this is a bad admission for me, but I've watched every season of Sopranos except for the final one.
Weird.
It is weird. Well, we were watching it in college, and then we all went home for a summer, and we were like, we'll all wait, and we'll watch The Sopranos together in the fall, and we just literally never did. And now I've forgotten. I got to watch it from the start.
Yeah, I have to watch that. I've got to do, I don't know if I need to do Mad Men. Were you a Mad Men guy?
I love Mad Men. Mad Men is perfect. I don't know if that's your type of show, and I'm not saying that as like an insult in any way.
No, it's fine. I watched almost the entire first season, and I really could not get that much.
Yeah, season 1 is the worst season of Mad Men, and I mean that.
Gosh, okay, this keeps happening. I think we're realizing something here.
Why do you think season 1s are the worst?
Because you don't know the character. You're not falling in love with the characters yet.
And the showrunners and the writers and stuff and the actor, they have to find out what they're
making.
Have to
find
the show. Find out what works. You have to find the show. And then season 2, you know what your show is, and you can have everything start to take shape. So yeah, season 1 of Mad Men is the worst season. But Mad Men is one of those shows. Like right now, my wife and I are watching Downton Abbey, and she like loves Downton Abbey, and it's a solid show. I mean, it's not like amazing, especially since it was in like that Breaking Bad, Mad Men, Game of Thrones, End of Lost. Like that's when Downton Abbey was getting nominations. But it's a solid show. But you know what you're getting when you sit down and watch Downton Abbey. It's a period piece that's like Mad Men. Don Draper and Roger Sterling and Pete Campbell is such a prick. Like they're the reason you're watching that show. There's nothing so insane with the storytelling that you're going to be like, it's not going to have those lost moments of what's in the hatch or Game of Thrones of like, can you believe what happened to Sean Bean? I don't know. Some people might still not have watched it, but it's like how, like, it doesn't have those moments, but Mad Men is just so freaking consistent. And it's just a mood, man. You just want to drink and yell at people. You just want to treat people like shit after it's over,
See, I find shows that are like big moods and vibes, like those are not really like, I want the what's in the hatch. I want the, I want the boat. And
all you talk about is 24, dude.
I love 24. Yeah. 24 is amazing. That 24 is what started it all. Kicked off this whole deal.
Yeah. No, I agree. If you haven't, here's one I'll throw at you, and then I think once we hit the 40-minute mark, let's jump into divisional round. But have you ever watched Oz?
I haven't. I've heard good things about
Oz. That is a great version of like the what's in the hatch and all of that. And for anybody who hasn't seen Oz, I will just say it is explicit. If you are not okay with like graphic violence and graphic nudity, do not watch it. It is ridiculous. It's so over the top. But man, there are some twists and turns, and the storytelling is out of control. And it's just a damn good time. I mean, obviously you're watching people in prison and it's like so dark, but it is so good. And it actually came out before The Sopranos. It's the original HBO show. So Oz is great. If you haven't checked it out, it's got Harold Perrineau and the guy who plays Mr. Echo, whose name I would just butcher if I tried to say it on here. So it's worth it, though. It's a great one. It really is. It's something else. That's up there in my top tier of dramas for sure.
Have you seen Rome?
I have. I love Rome.
Rome is awesome.
Too. Rome is awesome. And they rushed through season 2 because they didn't have they weren't budgeted to like do much. So like they took
I thought season 2 was good. I know that's great. Kind of a prevailing thought is that season 2 doesn't hold up to season 1, but I
disagree. Yeah, I think season 2 is great, but I think it works better because what they wanted to be seasons 2, 3, and 4 were just season 2. It was just all crammed in right there. It was great. I love Rome.
Love it.
Yeah, love Rome. All right. Is that enough on that? You want to talk
I
about?
think so.
All right.
So. I think we gave Succession its flowers. Definitely a top tier TV show.
Yes.
No, you didn't need to hear that from us.
Yeah, it was fun to talk about. Now you know what our TV taste is, so you know what to expect if we're going to start doing some other stuff here. Forrest, by the way, Forrest the Groat said that Better Call Saul gets way better. Some people argue it's better than Breaking Bad, and
I've heard that.
Jack Conroy says he's one of those people. So there you go.
Wow.
There you go. All right, divisional round. So finally, your San Francisco 49ers get to play football. That's exciting. This is fun. I'm very excited for this. So this is divisional rounds of the playoffs. If you're a bettor, if you're a gambler, right? Divisional round of the playoffs is essentially the second game for every team in March Madness. And what I mean by that is this. You come into March Madness, you have expectations for teams. Everybody's got a seed next to their name. There's point spreads, and all of a sudden you get that 12-5 upset, and you're like, oh my God, this 12 seed's amazing. Find the overreaction points from the public. Find them. Abuse them. You can win so much. After the divisional round, you get to championship round, and you're not going to win much. Like, you're just not. But the divisional round is the last time that you can really make that happen, because right now, you just had the Packers put up a 48 spot on the Dallas Cowboys, who had never lost at home, hadn't lost at home in 2 years. You had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers win by 23 points or whatever it was against the defending NFC champions. You had the Lions only win by 1 point at home against the Rams. You had the Texans blow the doors off of a very good Cleveland defense. The Chiefs, Dolphins, there was no surprise there. That was what it was. And the Bills won pretty easily, although that got a little sketchy at one point. But there's
that was a one-score game. I know you laughed at my Steelers plus 10.5 as if there's no chance. I know, but you don't need it wasn't like it was a blow. I mean, it could have gone either way at the end. It was a one touchdown
but it was 21-0,
game.
and then they blocked the kick. The blocked kick was the game changer right there, because otherwise Buffalo was really going to run away with it. But so we have 4 interesting matchups with the Ravens versus the Texans. You got the Chiefs versus Patrick Mahomes on the road for the first time in the playoffs against the Bills. You got obviously the 49ers taking on Green Bay, and you got the Lions at home against the Bucs in a rematch of a game from earlier in the season where I was actually at that game, and it was in Tampa. The Lions won 20-6. Interesting. We'll talk about them in order, but which game really stands out to you the most as a is it the Niners game because you're a Niners fan or no?
Well, yeah, obviously. Okay. I can't look at these games from a different perspective other than looking at Packers-Niners, which historically has been a really common playoff matchup, at least in my lifetime in these years, in our runs with Harbaugh and then our 2 runs with Shanahan. The Packers is a team we often face in the playoffs. It's been kind of Dallas too. We faced them the past 2 seasons, but I remember, Phil, I was with you down in down in Miami or Fort Lauderdale for your bachelor party. And Niners Packers was on. This was a snowy game in Green Bay. Jimmy Garoppolo was at the helm for us Niners, and we basically were like hanging in this game, and we just get a blocked punt, and like I'm pretty sure we recover the punt in the end zone for a touchdown. It was just like an instant touchdown out of nowhere. And we win like 10-7 or 13-10 or 13-7.
It was really low scoring. Aaron Rodgers did nothing.
No, the weather was miserable. Neither offense could move the ball. So it was just we just have to hang in here and hope for a big play. Sure enough, 13-10. And that's all we needed. It was just that one block punt. Jimmy G didn't do a damn thing, but it didn't matter. And that got us to the NFC Championship game. And unfortunately, we lost to the Rams, and they went on to win the Super Bowl. But that was a great one. And now this weekend, I'm going to be with you in Fort Lauderdale again. And unfortunately, I'm going to a wedding on Saturday night, and the game is like right in the middle during this wedding and the reception. So
crazy that that's 2 weekends, like the same weekend, 2 different years that you're coming to Florida. Like that's just so
coming to Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
Where the Niners are playing the Packers.
Yeah.
Like the same exact.
Are you going to wear the same outfit? Can I show everybody the outfit?
Of course. I have a great outfit.
Can I show everybody?
Sure. I don't care.
Let's see if it pops up here. Let's see. That's Will's outfit for anybody who's listening. That is Will dressed. He went out dressed like that. He was
Yeah, I had the shirt, the t-shirt all the way tucked into the khakis.
He did. He was in full Jim Harbaugh mode.
Yeah, it was in honor of Harbaugh, absolutely.
I love it. Yeah. So anyway, all right, let's do them in order though, because obviously the Niners game, that means it's second. But Texans going to the Baltimore Ravens. Okay, Texans, Baltimore Ravens. How do you think that this is going to go? You given any chance to the Houston Texans after they decimated the Browns?
I feel like I have to, but then I also kind of want to remember Phil's mantra of like, don't overreact after one game. But it's hard not to overreact because if you're looking at what the Texans did to the Browns, you would say, okay, well, the Browns have a really good defense. The Ravens have a really good defense. So like you're looking at the Ravens' strengths, you can't really convince yourself that they're not the Browns. And the big difference here is the quarterback situation. So Joe Flacco with the turnovers and then Lamar with maybe the turnovers. He hasn't been been great, but he hasn't been that bad either. So, I mean, look, if Lamar turns the ball over twice, I think the Texans easily have a shot to win this game. I do think if Lamar protects the ball and we play 60 minutes of clean-ish football, then you got to go Ravens. So what's the number right now?
So that's what I was pulling up right now. By the way, that's from Forrest Agrode. He says that you look like Alan from The Hangover. So that's always good.
I'll take it. Yeah, I just need a baby strapped to my chest. Get Carlos in.
Why will this not stop? There we go. Baltimore is favored by. It opened at 9. It is all the way down to 7.5.
Yeah, I think this is Phil's theory here. I think if this one gets to 7, you just got to hop on the Ravens. And I get it. I'm not trying to discredit CJ Stroud and what he's done, but he is a rookie quarterback. Baltimore does have a really strong defense. And Joe Flacco is just not going to give you the ball when you're playing the Ravens. The Browns are known for doing that in the later part of their season due to Flacco. So I can't rely on Lamar giving them extra possessions.
That's actually at ESPN Bet. I don't know what that is. That when you go to ESPN, that's all they give you now. So I'm looking at it over here, and like FanDuel has it at 9.5, BetMGM 8.5, Caesars 9, DraftKings 9, Bet
Weird.
5.9. Okay. But then ESPN Bet has 7.5. So maybe the people who are just betting on ESPN Bet are just hammering them. Houston's getting 60.
It's like the most public book since it's ESPN.
Probably
like everyone with an ESPN account, and you don't have to go anywhere else. So that's why it's getting the most public action on the Texans, something like that.
Yeah, 61% of bets on Houston, and then the over/under set at 44, and 72% of bets on the over there. What's interesting about this game, and this is a tough one for me, but what's so compelling is this game is a rematch of Week 1, a game in Baltimore, first game of CJ Stroud's career. And that game at halftime, CJ Stroud's first game, was 7-6 Baltimore. Now, I get it. It's Week 1. Baltimore's not who they were yet. Like, you have to figure yourself out, all that. But it was 7-6 at halftime. Second half, Baltimore opened it up, took a 22-6 lead, ultimately ends up winning 25-9. Stroud, 28-44, 242 yards. The weird thing is, though, both of these teams are so much better than they were in Week 1. Both of them. Not just Baltimore, not just Houston. They're both so much better. How many points do the Texans really deserve in this game? That's the question, because Baltimore's defense is really good, but if Stroud takes care of the ball, I learned my lesson last week. It's like, if he takes care of the ball, they can beat anyone.
All it takes, they're a big play team also. Like obviously they can move the ball too, but they have explosive receivers. And so all it takes is like one big explosive play, touchdown, you're right in it. Like you don't need to beat the Ravens every play. You just need to pick your spots and have some good things happen. I think I like the over here. 44 to me, that seems a little low when both offenses are clicking. And I think, is Mark Andrews coming back also? Not that they really need him. I think Isaiah Likely has been absolutely studly, maybe even a little bit more athletic. Maybe doesn't have have that like blanket third down safety net that he provides at the tight end position, where Lamar can just hook it to Mark Andrews and he's always right there and open. He's going to catch it. But for making like big explosive plays, Isaiah Likely has provided that for them. So Plus Odell Beckham, he's like still balling. You have Flowers, you have Bateman on that roster, plus all their running backs. I mean, they run the ball so well with Lamar's threat to run. So I think both offenses I'm liking here. And if you say, hey, well, Baltimore's got a good defense, sure. Then the Ravens are going to take a big lead, and then Stroud's just going to be throwing. He's going to be slinging it. He's going to be slinging the ball all over that yard, trying to make up for it. So I still think they find ways to get in the end zone and score. So that's going to be my official pick on this game. I'm going to stay away from the spread, especially that number's moving all over the place. Give me the over 44. Is that the best number I can get? Is there any other
best number you can get? Yeah. So when I look at this, I don't think the Ravens beat the daylights out of the Lions. I do think Lamar Jackson gets easier to play against the second time you face him because you know what beat you the first time. So I do think that is worth noting. I mean, obviously the Steelers beat the Ravens their second time, but Lamar didn't play, so you can't look at that game. The Browns beat the Ravens the second time they played them. They really shut him down in the second half. I don't know what happened. What was the Bengals situation? Did they beat the Ravens at all? No, they lost because that was the game. But that was the game where Burrow got hurt in the first half. So that was kind of a weird situation. But either way, Lamar gets a little bit easier to cover the second time you play him. That being said, I think what people aren't going to look at is this. CJ Stroud played perfect football in the first half of last week's game. Perfect. Unbelievable. They were winning 24-14. Come out in the second half. The Browns stop them. Joe Flacco drives to the 31-yard line and then throws his first pick six and ends the game. I mean, that was the end of the game. But they were driving a score. And that was a 14 or 10-point swing because the Browns would have kicked a field goal or they would have scored a touchdown. Like they were in range. That's where you have to assume would have happened. So now it's a one-score game. How does CJ Stroud play after that? We don't know. But we didn't see CJ Stroud have to do anything in the second half of this game because then the next drive, Flacco throws another pick six. The game is over. It's out of hand. But this game could have easily been 24-21 or 24-17 with CJ Stroud playing perfect football in the first half. The Ravens are really, really good. I still don't think they're as good as advertised, but they're a really, really good football team. And if they play to their talent level, they can beat anybody by a lot. I think the public is going to react really strongly to CJ Stroud. I was against CJ Stroud last week. He showed up. He proved me wrong. If he proves me wrong again this week, the Texans might be my Super Bowl pick because he would have to do something pretty amazing to win this game. I am going to say Ravens -8.5, which I can get everywhere. I think the Ravens win this game.
Take 7.5 if it's out there.
Well, yeah, I mean at ESPN Bet, right? I don't want to go on ESPN Bet though. I mean, come on, what am I doing? But okay,
you're getting your best number.
If I can get 7.5, I'll take 7.5. And I think the Ravens win this game. It's in Baltimore. It's outside. That's a big deal. You got to remember, home field advantage is a big deal in the playoffs. We saw that with the Lions,
especially for a rookie.
Better team,
especially for a rookie.
Yeah, and he has never had to play on the road. We'll see what happens. But the Rams were the better team than the Lions that whole night. But it was played in Detroit, and Detroit got it done when they needed to.
What's the weather like? Am I being dumb with this?
No, let's see.
I mean, I don't care if it's cold, but if it's windy.
In Baltimore, that stadium is right on the it is breezy and very cold at times with sun and clouds. High of 27, winds 13 miles an hour. But no rain.
A little windy there.
That makes me like the Ravens even more because they can run the ball so much better than the Texans.
I don't know. I'm going to go over. I think these offenses are too good to not score that many points. So,
all right, that was almost a full 10 minutes. All right, let's jump into the next game.
Cool.
That's you.
What game is this?
The San Francisco loser boys.
I got this line's been moving all over the place too. What is this at now? Because I remember I think it opened at like 9.5, and I saw it get up to 10.5, and then now it's down to 8.5.
So at the major sports books, I'm seeing 9.5. FanDuel, DraftKings, Caesars, Bet365, Bet MGM. I'm
So is
seeing
ESPN just wrong? Because ESPN, I thought
ESPN
I saw
just
8.5.
makes up numbers, man. Because I think
It's
ESPN.
just weird. They're just a full point off on.
I think ESPN wants to get more people involved with their app because they know it's going to be hard to get market share. So they put up random lines. It's kind of like if you know Bet365, Bet365, I think, is a Canadian company. Whenever something is like minus 115, they always make it minus 110 because they're giving you the best price always on like player props. Because normally player props, if you're betting a spread, it's minus 110. That's like there's no extra juice. Player props is normally minus 115 if it's no extra juice. Bet365 will give you player props for minus 110 almost every time because they're saying like, look, we have the best number. Why wouldn't you want to play with us? Same total.
Because you're in Canada.
Yeah, but I think you could play it in the US. But anyway, yeah, I can't believe it's at 8.5 there. Look, this is the one that's the overreaction. I don't give a damn, man. The Niners have to dominate this game. I'm just not buying that the Packers are going to be able to stop the Niners offense. And I think this is a huge overreaction. I think the one thing people don't really want to admit, Cowboys pretty much stunk all season. The NFC East stunk all season. The Cowboys beat up on really bad teams. They played a great back and forth game in primetime against the Lions. Yeah, they won. They lost a back and forth primetime game against the Dolphins. You know what? The Dolphins and Lions aren't that good. Like, they're good, but they're not that good. So, like, the Cowboys,
there's not that many good teams.
There's not. It's really the Niners and maybe the Ravens. That's really it.
And the Niners, we spanked them. It was, I think, 40-13. Like, it was a blowout. It was a bloodbath.
42-10. You underestimated how bad it was.
42. Maybe that was the Eagles. We beat 40-13. I don't know. We just beat up on the NFC.
42-19 was the Eagles.
42-19.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, those teams just aren't that good.
Right. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm taking the points here. Anything under 10, I like. So give me 9.5 if that's consensus.
We'll give you 8.5 because we'll do ESPN.
Yeah, I mean that's what they have. So it's about the defense of the Packers. You mentioned this. The Niners are going to score. And I think the Niners can stop Jordan Love. Like, I don't think Jordan Love is going to be able to dice up the Niners defense like he was able to dice up the Packers defense. The Packers defense has been a big question mark all season. Kind of like you've been saying, they haven't played anybody. Like, the Bills just ran down their throat. Remember that game against the Cowboys?
The Cowboys. You're saying Packers, but you mean the Cowboys defense.
Right. Sorry. Yes. Cowboys defense. The Packers can't do that to the Niners. The Packers are not like, I know they have Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, but they're not going to be able to move the ball as easily, and they're going to make Jordan make some tough plays and tough passes. The Cowboys weren't doing that. Plus, you add on top Dak's turnovers. Purdy, for the most part, I know he had some bad throws against the Ravens. That was like the 4 interception game. I think 2 of those were deflected, maybe even 3 of them. I know his arm got hit on one. I'm not really looking at that. Purdy has been taking care of the ball all year. So I think Purdy takes care of the ball, moves the ball on offense, and then the Packers are just going to have a way, way harder time. I know it's a great story. Jordan Love, everything. He's looking really good. But, man, it's a different defense playing the Niners. So that's where I'm going.
And the Packers are 19th in the league in passing yards per attempt. In defensively, passing yards per attempt allowed, right? They're 19th in the league, so they're not very good. And when it comes to your offense,
number
you
one,
guys are
right?
number one
number
at
one.
9.3 passing yards per attempt. Like, this is a great matchup. They can't cover all of them. And the other thing that people love to look at it and be like, oh my God, Jordan Love was amazing in that game. And he was. Jordan Love's numbers, I mean, he was as close to perfect as you can be. He threw so many 50-50 balls that if you're playing a team that's not the Cowboys defense, you're not completing those. That's something that people aren't going to look at. They're going to look at the final numbers. The worst thing you can do if you're betting is be a box score watcher. If you're a box score watcher, you'll never win bets because you're not seeing how the game actually took place. The Packers beat the daylights out of the Cowboys, but there were so many plays where it could have ended a drive, and it was clutch play, but it could have ended a drive. It could have been an interception. It could have been something worse. Who knows? And it always worked. It's not always going to work against San Fran. And it has to always work against San Fran if they're going to win this game. They're not going to win. And look, I was all over Aaron Jones last week. I said it. Will laughed at me. I said it. I was right. I wouldn't take an over on the Packers offense this week. There's not a single player that I would consider playing their over against the Niners defense because it's going to be a random person who does most of the work. I think this is going to be ugly.
What is the total?
The total right now is, and then one with the stone says Lions fan need the Pack to win. Yeah, I mean, that'd be great, but it ain't going to happen. 50.5. 83% of bets on the over right now.
I think that tells you where you need to go. You need to go under, and it's because the Niners going to make it hard for the Packers.
Here's what I'll do.
I really think so. I really think that's it.
Let me look this up real quick because this will be, if I can get this at a decent number, this will be my play of the week right here. So let me see if it's a decent number before I say where the heck is it? Here it is. San Francisco 49ers over 30.5 minus 110. Over 30.5. San Francisco this year.
I was just thinking it's going to be 30. It's going to be like 31-10 is this game. 31-13. 31-17. Even 31-17, that keeps you under.
But you know what scares me about it? I would rather take the Niners team total over because the only way the Packers are winning this game is if they do what they did to Dallas, which is win it like 48-32 or 48-35. And the Niners could win this game 37-10, 35-10.
The Niners it could be like 40. Yeah, it could be like 42-13.
That's
what they've done to some of these teams. The Eagles and the
yeah. So Cowboys. Niners right now over 30.5 is at minus 110. I would take that. Over 30.5 is probably the best play of this game.
I'm trying to see how this game goes, like 24-17 or like 24-14. I don't really see it. I don't know what's going to slow down Purdy in this offense. I just don't. We got too many great players, man. It's scary how many good players we have because it's like if we don't win, it's like why didn't you look at your roster? I mean, McCaffrey, Debo, Kittle, Ayuk, Kyle Juszczyk. I mean, it's we have so many playmakers. Even like Ronnie Bell out of Michigan making some plays. Ray McLeod.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think it's blowout. But I think you're safe.
I like the blowout. I like the team total. It all sounds. This is music to my ears. So
I think it's the safest bet you can make. Don't mess around with the team because the Niners have scored over 40 points themselves in numerous games, and if they go over 40, they could win this game a blowout. And Jordan Love goes down and pads the stats at the end of the game.
The under. I mean, dude, if 80% of the public is on over, it feels like when maybe Niners are in get out mode. It's 21-0, and then we're just going to run the ball down your throats. We're going to maybe not play as hard. We're not going to show our cards and open up the playbook. We're not going to reveal our secrets to the Lions or the Bucks or whoever's in the AFC and just, divisional round. Don't need to be flashy. Just come away with a win. I can definitely see the under being a good play.
All right, let's jump over to the Lions game.
All right, here you go. You're up, man.
So I'm actually very impressed with the public on this one. I'm very impressed. I have to say I'm very impressed. They are not taking the bait from sportsbooks. This line was set at it was set at 5.5 originally. Only 56% of bettors are betting on the Lions, and this line has already moved up to 6.5, which tells you that Vegas and odds makers actually wanted more action on the Lions than they're getting. And because they're not getting, they're actually having to shift the line to try to stop, or they were hoping to get more action on the Bucks. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say,
they were trying to get more action on the Bucks. And because they're not, they actually have to shift the line and make the Lions bigger favorites in hope of getting people to bet on the Bucks. They thought people were going to be much more impressed with the Buccaneers based on how they played against the Eagles. Also, I'm very impressed. They set this total at 48.5. This is an under. And the public is actually favoring the under right now. Not by much, but they're favoring it. This is an under.
Really?
Yeah, this is an under.
Tell me why. Because my inclination, I'm surprised the public is leaning under. My inclination would be to go over just because you have two pass-heavy offenses.
So I was at the game, and I know a lot has changed, so obviously. But I was at the game in October when these teams played back in week 6. The Bucks red zone defense is really good. The Lions red zone defense, as shown the other night, is really good. These are two really good red zone defenses. But also, The Lions held the Bucks and Baker Mayfield to 146 passing yards in that first game. Now I understand. Oh, but Baker's playing so good right now. He's playing so good. Like, how can you count him out? Like, I get that. But also in that Lions game, they didn't have Brian Branch, who is their number one cornerback right now. Did not play in that game. The Lions had to throw the ball, which put their defense on the field more because David Montgomery didn't play, or Jahmyr Gibbs didn't play in that game, and David Montgomery got hurt in the first half. So Jared Goff threw for 350-something yards in that game because he had to throw every play because there was literally no rushing attack. And yet, with the defense being on the field more, they still were fine. Now, look at the teams that Baker's lit up. The Atlanta Falcons, who cares? The Green Bay Packers, okay, yeah, they look good against Dallas last week, but Green Bay's been lit up by teams this year. Jacksonville Jaguars couldn't stop anybody. And then he comes out and he plays New Orleans and he loses 23-13, and then he scores 9 points against Carolina in the last game of the season where all they need to do is win to get in. Yeah, he just lit up the Philadelphia Eagles. But if the Eagles could tackle at all, even if they could just make the guy stumble or push him out of bounds, that's not the game that we watched. I mean, the Eagles did not tackle. It was terrible, everything. The Lions secondary is bad. But what you saw in this game is they make teams one-dimensional. They make you beat them with the pass. And Baker Mayfield was under pressure a lot in that Eagles game. I think the Lions are going to put him under pressure a lot in this game. I think the Bucs defense is good. Not great, but good, and good enough that they're going to be able to keep the Lions in check for most of the game. I think the Lions are going to look like the dominant team in this game, but only win by a touchdown or maybe even a field goal. But it's going to look like a much more lopsided game when you're actually watching it take place. I think Baker's going to be on his back a lot in this game.
Another big thing here is Tampa Bay was at home, and I think that just does a lot, especially for a team that's an underdog. To be a home dog in a playoff game, it just gets your whole crowd riled up.
Did it too.
It's just there's something about that. These division winners, because there's always one division in each conference that is like an 8-win or 9-win team. I remember the Seahawks one year, they were 7-9, and we're like, oh my gosh, why do they get a home playoff game? Oh. And I think they beat the Saints.
That was the Marshawn Lynch beast mode run.
They beat Drew Brees, and it's like that place is rocking. Everyone's counting us out. And that really, I think, fires these teams up. And so Tampa Bay is not going to have that. They've already gotten their big win. They're now going on the road to now a place that actually has maybe one of the strongest home field advantages in the NFL right now. A franchise that hasn't had a playoff win in 30 years just got their first playoff win, and now they get to host another home game because of how the brackets sorted out and that Philadelphia and Dallas both fell. So Detroit is going to be fired up. Tampa just came from playing a nice, easy home game where everything's going your way. You're sleeping in your own bed. Your fans are loving you. I just think that part of it, to go on the road to this environment with these Detroit fans who are going absolutely ballistic right now for these Lions, as they should be, in addition to everything you said actually about football that I can't quite wrap my head around or understand very well, just from the emotional side of this, you've got to just like the Lions here to take care of business.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is the Lions have no pressure now. This could be a letdown spot, but realistically, I think it's oh my God, we got the monkey off our back spot. They hadn't won a playoff game in 32 years. They got to play a home game against Matt Stafford and his wife, who had to make it about herself like she always does. I cannot stand Kelly Stafford. I mean, you as a Niners fan, you probably know every fan base that beats Matt Stafford is just the worst fan base. They're so awful to her and her kids as she's like throwing food at San Francisco 49ers fans. They had to take on that. They had to take on this really, really like crazy storyline of Matt Stafford never could lead you to a division title, never got you a home playoff game, never got you a playoff win. And now you got to take that on. And you got it. That is insane that happened. First home playoff game in 32 years, and that's who you have to take on. And they beat them. They got it out of the way. And Jared Goff played great. The offense played great. The second half wasn't awesome, but the defense showed up when it needed to.
The defense was great in the second half. I mean, that was impressive.
6 points.
Both defenses. I mean, it was a totally different game in the second half.
Yeah. Both defenses played great, and the Lions overcame that. And you can say, oh, well, the Lions give up all these yards. How many points do you get for going for 400 yards? 0. You still got to put the ball in the end zone, or you got to kick a field goal. And they held the Rams when it was important. and they stopped them. And you can complain, oh, well, Puka Nacua got held and it was PI. It absolutely was PI. But also at the end of the first half, that was offsides, and the Lions would have scored a touchdown or a field goal there to go up more. So it offsets as far as I'm concerned. I don't give a shit.
The Lions aren't going to feel bad for you for
we've
not
lost
getting a call.
everything.
Yeah.
And Rams fans at this point, I know, like, I lived in LA. I actually quite like the Rams, but oh my God, they're the softest fans in the world, man.
They're soft.
They are so soft. It's so sad. And the way they've reacted since this game, it's just been like a whine fest. And I'm like, oh my God, how do Niners fans put up with this all the time? It would drive me crazy.
We just go to their stadium and it's like 70% Niners fans. It's fantastic.
It's brutal. So yeah, I think the Lions have no pressure. I think this is a great matchup for them. Also, what are the Lions the worst against? They're the worst against mobile quarterbacks. That's what the Lions can't cover. Jordan Love is a pretty mobile guy. They didn't play well against him. Justin Fields, they lost to him. Lamar Jackson, they lost to him. Dak Prescott, not mobile. We also didn't lose that game. Ball don't lie. That's why we got another home game and the Cowboys are sitting at home. Seahawks game, that was kind of fluky after the big win over the Chiefs. That's going to happen. Baker Mayfield can't move. The Lions keep him in the pocket. The Lions secondary will do what they need to do. Mike Evans will drop at least 6 passes because he's trash, and that's what he does. And I think I got the Lions -6.5. I think they win this rather easily. Normally, I'd be scared of the 6.5 because it's like, ooh, Vegas wants me to take the Lions. But because they started this at 5.5 and put it in no man's land, I think they were expecting a bigger reaction from the public towards the Bucs because the Bucs beat the daylights out of the Eagles. But the Bucs beat the worst version of the Eagles in the last 5 years. The team that the Eagles just put on the field on Monday night was a pathetic team, and I would argue might have been a bottom 10 team in the NFL with who they had out there. A.J. Brown was hurt, injuries, all that. They were just garbage at this point.
This one's tough. And I still feel like I got to go over, even though despite you telling me this is an under game. I feel like Baker is still going to throw the ball on the Lions. I know the Lions kind of shored things up a little bit in the second half, but it's not like the Lions have had some great defense, the whole season. Plus, the stopping the run has always been what the Lions have struggled at this season. And
No. Lions are great stopping the run. They're like top 5 in the league. It's the pass.
Really, I feel like I watch them all the time, and they're getting run over.
No, and that's why they beat the Rams. Kyron Williams ended that game with 61 yards. That's it.
Yeah, they looked good. They looked good against the Rams. I just don't know if we can look at one game, especially in their second half on defense, and be like, hey, they're going to have that defensive because the Bucs can get you. But obviously,
opponent rushing yards per attempt, Lions were 3rd in the league.
Wow,
3.7 yards allowed per rushing attempt. That's freaking good.
I can't really say I watch the Lions play football all that often.
Clearly, you said it without saying it.
That is surprising. That is surprising me that they would be that, because I feel like I'm always seeing maybe it's more the passing. The passing
this
defense.
One with the stone wants to know, how do Vegas odds makers calculate for Dan Campbell's balls? What do you think? I mean, he's got huge.
Honestly, they probably give the Bucs, some love or a point, maybe a half point, because you're like, all it takes is like one bad decision on 4th down, and it could totally switch the game and put it in the Bucs' favor. I doubt they actually do that, but I mean, it wouldn't be a good thing. With all the 4th down calls.
Yeah.
I did like the 2-point conversion though. We talked about that before.
Yeah.
I know it's from 7-yard line or whatever, but that was a game where seeding didn't really matter between the 2 and the 3 seed. You don't want to keep that game going and get someone hurt as you're about to make a postseason run. So, so you like your Lions. I think I just got to go with my gut here, and it's Goff versus Mayfield. And I don't really trust either defense all that much. I guess despite the Lions being 3rd in run defense, that's a news to me. I still like the over. So just give me the over on this one.
All right, over 48.5. Goodfella 1422 agrees with you. He says Baker showed something. I think Bucs will compete. Bucs have a defense. They do have a defense. That could be scary, but
that's why I'm not touching the spread, because I could.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, if the Bucs came in and gave you guys a tight one, wouldn't be surprising.
This would be, and like, I'm going to be so let down if the Lions lose this game. It's still such an unbelievably successful season. But to me, I hate to say it, this feels too easy. Like, this feels so easy. The Bucks overachieved, still barely overachieved. You can throw the Bucks season-long stats out, like defensive stats and stuff, because 6 of their games were against the Saints, the Falcons, and the Panthers. The Lions beat all of them. So, like, it's like you can throw that out. Like, they played such bad offenses for so much of the year that, like, yeah, their passing numbers might be great, but they played Desmond Ridder twice. They played Bryce Young twice. It's really tough. I think the Lions could win this one rather easily. The only thing that's going to beat the Lions in this game is if they turn the ball over. If Jared Goff turns the ball over, they lose. There's no doubt about it. But I think they end up coming away with this one. I think
it does all feel too easy, right?
It's hard to beat a team twice, but I do think that the Lions are pretty much putting a different team on the field this week than they did the first time.
It all does feel a little too easy, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are we just going to sail into Niners-Lions?
I told you last year, if the Lions played the Niners, I wanted to come out to San Fran and do it. And the Lions didn't make the playoffs, but they could have very easily been a team that they were so hot at the end of last year. They could have made a little run.
Should we do that for the NFC Championship? We go down. We go up. Down. I guess I go up.
You go up too. Across the entire country. I'm definitely not going down. I'm as far down as you can get, buddy. We might have to.
I don't know. I've never even been to the new Niners stadium. I hear terrible things.
Yeah. Before we jump into the last game, the most important question of the night from Goodfella 1422. Who do you think wins the Men's Royal Rumble of 2024? Will you got a take on that?
Johnny Mundo.
I have no idea who's even wrestling in that. We are the worst people to ask. Johnny Fairplay is the best you could ask for that. All right, last game of the weekend. Biggest one. Probably the tightest matchup and the hardest one for me to pick. Kansas City at Buffalo. Buffalo's favored by 2.5. It looks like it's about to jump to 3. And I've
seen it at 3 and 3.5.
Yeah, but
maybe ESPN bet, because I just looked at ESPN
bet has it at 3, and then every other sports book has it at 3.5, and then 45.5 is where the total is sitting. Most people actually like the under in this game. It's going to be cold in Buffalo. I mean, that's just what it is. What do you like in this game? I don't like this game at all. I don't like.
Well, I'm excited that this game is happening. I remember the 13-second game, as it's known. That was that same weekend. We were at your. I guess it was just divisional weekend, we can say, for your bachelor party, and watching that with everybody was so much fun. And who doesn't want to see the rematch of this game? I'm excited. This is great. I don't know why you're not more excited. I think it is a tough line. It's a tough game to pick. I kind of said this last week that the Chiefs likely were just kind of sleepwalking through the season. That was my take, right? If I recall correctly, and that they're probably not as down and out as they appear to be. Now, I might have said something a little bit similar about the Eagles. I think I was a little harder on the Eagles and said not to the full extent of what KC's doing. But we did see the Chiefs just dismantle the Dolphins, who, like, hey, maybe they're not that good, but the Chiefs, the problems that they've had at the end of the regular season, they don't appear to be lingering. I mean, even we got Travis Kelce involved, which Kelce didn't do anything all season. And it's like, oh, we're in the playoffs now. Now we're going to get him, like, what do you have, like 7 receptions or 6 receptions or something?
Yeah, he had a good game.
So it seems like they were able to kind of do what they wanted. And now and like I said, that division, you're playing the Broncos, the Chargers, and the Raiders. Like, you didn't have to worry about someone coming out of nowhere and stealing that division from you. So I think they're probably okay. And then the Bills, I don't know, man. This team is tough to figure out. I love Josh Allen. I love his gusto. I love him running the ball. That's what Josh Allen needs to be doing. That's what makes him a difference maker. That's why you can win games. That 50-yard rush was absolutely insane. And that's what
people were trying to say that it was a fake slide. Where did he fake slide? The guy just tried to juke. Like, such grasping at straws here. Did you hear about this?
No, I watched the play a bunch of times and didn't even cross my mind.
No, people are trying to say he fake slid, and that's the only reason he broke this for 50 yards, not the fact that the Steelers—
I remember watching the Kenny Pickett game. I think it was a bowl game against, I want to say, an Orange team or Purdue, maybe. I don't know. But that was a fake slide. Like, you watch Kenny Pickett, he dekes, and he doesn't slide at all, but he's like intending to slide, and then just totally goes to the end zone. It was huge. They've obviously banned and changed that rule now. That was not that. No, Josh Allen's going to need to run. He's going to need to be special, and he's going to need to take care of the ball. Josh Allen has been so turnover prone. And even even in this game that we saw from the Steelers, yes, like you said, they were up 21-0. It's not like the Bills like said, all right, let's put a bow on this and go home easy. It's like, no, that was a game in the fourth quarter, and they let that thing get way too close. The Bills don't feel like at this point a team that you can like rely on and trust. You can't trust them with the lead. You can't trust them to come back. Like, they can turn the ball over at any time, whether that's a fumble, whether it's an interception. It just doesn't seem like they're like fully with it. Whereas the Chiefs, they've been here, done that. They've got 2 Super Bowls. Seems like now they've kind of maybe ironed some things out. Maybe their problems weren't as bad as we originally saw them. So my thinking is, and I don't like this, I'd way rather the Bills win. But man, if the Chiefs are getting 3 points or 3.5 points, oh man, I think you got to take Mahomes, take the points.
Yeah, I'm going to take the under.
What's the number?
45.5. And that's all I'm going to do. If I had to pick a team, which like I will have to pick a winner, like in certain pools and stuff I'm in, I will pick the home team and I'll pick Buffalo because I just don't think Kansas City's that good. But I don't think either of these offenses are playing to their potential right now. And the Bills showed a lot of weird weaknesses against the Steelers in the second half of that game, and it was creepy. And the Chiefs blew out the Dolphins, but the Dolphins can't play if it's under 50 degrees. Like, they have no idea.
And the Dolphins are let's be nice to the Dolphins. They're very banged up. They have no pass rush.
They have no defense.
Like, their defense is just it's on. Yeah. So I don't want to be too harsh to the Fins.
Yeah, but I think that the team that the Chiefs just played wasn't the team that they played earlier in the year. It's a home game. Mahomes has never gone on the road. I'd probably take, I would probably end up going with the with the home team. Not with any reason. So I'm just going to take the under because I don't think either offense is playing that good. It's a night game. It's going to be cold. It's going to be windy. Like, it's just Buffalo, and it's at night. And I think both of these quarterbacks are going to throw an interception or two.
I could see the under. I could get behind you.
Yeah. Well, Noah Ferrugia brings up a good point. Coach played the national anthem for the Bills. How can you not pick them as Survivor fans? Did you see that? But Coach was he played it on trumpet. He was the solo.
I did not see that. Wow.
He was solo. Yeah, Coach Ben Wade.
He should be a coach. He should get on the sidelines, throw a headset on.
There's some teams that could use him right now. It's a tough game. I'm really excited for it. I mean, it was funny watching at my bachelor party way back when, because my buddy's a huge Bills fan and literally didn't come to my bachelor party because he said he's watching like the Bills game with like whoever his Bills friends, whatever are. And he did.
What a reason to not go to a bachelor party.
Oh, it was so
watching a football game. It's like, if you go to the bachelor party, especially Phil's bachelor party, you're going to get together with all the guys and watch football. That's why you pick that weekend. I've actually done a few bachelor parties, divisional round weekend. It's always a hit.
Yeah, it's great. But he didn't come, and he had to suffer through it, and we were trolling him so hard.
Screw that guy. Who is that guy? Do I know him?
Do you know him? He was one of the groomsmen at my wedding. I hope you remember. I mean, he was there.
Well, I mean, he wasn't at the bachelor party, so
he wasn't at the bachelor party, so you don't remember anybody. Yeah, this is a tough game, though. This is a really hard game. Neither one of these teams has been consistent enough. And I know the Bills have won like 7 games in a row.
Yeah, they have not looked good.
But I haven't looked good in most of their games.
They've not gone to that point where you're like, oh, Buffalo figured it out. They're back. I trust this team. They're not there yet. And the Chiefs, they're probably not there yet either, but I just trust them a little bit more. I trust them. They've done it. So I gotta take +3.
And that's what Goodfellas says. He says, Chiefs are ready. I don't think Alan Cockers is demons. Buffalo tradition, ? And then one with the Stone says, I like how Phil and Will is silver and blue rather than gold and red. Do we have to change it to gold and red if the Niners beat the Lions in the playoffs this year? Will we have to change the colors?
Sure. I don't know.
Maybe. You can do it. You got anything else you want to talk about in this game or anything? Or is that pretty much it?
I think that's it. I think we covered some good TV shows. We covered some good football talk. I'm excited, man. This is always a good weekend. We always get a lot of games. Usually the games are a little bit closer here than they are. Wild card weekend, you do tend to get quite a few blowouts. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't too surprising that we had like one good game all weekend. The Rams-Lions game. Was there another good one? Yeah. Good game. I mean, Steelers-Bills, like I said, was down to a one-score game in the fourth, but
Rams-Lions was the only game decided by fewer than 14 points.
Yeah. So I think divisional round usually provides more entertainment. Maybe not though. The way we're talking Niners, Lions are covering, and then I think Chiefs Bills is gonna be tight. And then hey, Texans Ravens, man, I would who knows? Texans are very much in play for the upset. So maybe Texans money line. Take a look at that. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. But anyway. That's all we got. Thank you all so much for listening. We'll probably be back on like a normal night next week, like a Wednesday or a Thursday, rather than doing.
Wait, when do we got the traders and the trust and
the trader? So we're going to be doing. If you're with us for a reality TV, we're going to be Thursday morning of all the things. We're going to be doing the trust because the trust comes out tomorrow, but we can't podcast tomorrow because Will's got to come to me. So Thursday morning we're going to be doing the trust. Thursday night. Around probably about, I don't know what, 10:30 or so, we'll be doing the traders because we got to wait till the episode's over and we might not be starting until like 9:30.
Jesus.
Yeah. And then that's it. And then on Sunday, it's probably going to be Monday. On Monday, we're going to be doing our next Survivor Second Chances. If you're a huge Survivor fan and you haven't checked out our Second Chances videos yet, you got to go check those out. And good fella, start the trust. It's worth it. It's a nice little watch. And like, we had fun talking about it for episode 1. I think we'll have fun talking about it and by episode 1, I mean week 1. It was 4 episodes, but 3 episodes tomorrow. It's an adequate show, and it's got a better premise than The Traders, even though The Traders is a more compelling TV show. So it'll be interesting to see how the trust kind of finishes out here. I
don't mind the premise of The Traders. I think the premise is fine. I think it's the execution is what's a little bit off. That's
a better word. That is a better word. But yeah, check it out. That's on Netflix. We'll be doing that podcast Thursday morning. That's right. So wake up, coffee with Phil and Will. Otherwise, thank you all so much. Hope you're enjoying the Phil and Will show. Hopefully you guys go and have some good divisional round winnings there. Or if you're not betting and you just want to watch the games, go Lions, go Niners. We got to set up that Lions-Niners thing because
that'd be great.
It's going to be tough. But that's it. We'll see you all next week. Oh yeah, like and subscribe. Do that. Like the video.
We never ask you to do that.
Yeah, I know. We got to do that. I got to start doing that at the beginning of episodes because people don't listen to this point. If you're watching still, like this video, like it, subscribe. We need to get our subscriber count up.
Do it all. Yeah.